with so many different choices out there, although somewhat limited with all the restrictions and everything, where does someone start? Because I know so many people that are excited. Hey, I heard about it. To me, it's kind of like a cryptocurrency or something. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I heard it's really doing well. Where
It's
do I start?
amazing.
How do I buy a Bitcoin, right? And it's like, okay, just learn about the whole, exchanges and everything and go from there. But for someone that is a client of yours trying to get started without getting into the personalization of everything, where should they look to start?
Yeah. So basically what I did a few years ago when I first heard about peptides and I found that I couldn't resist the pull. I couldn't turn away. I started a Facebook community that's now quite large and quite active. Now it's an interesting place to start. Just understand that it's filled with all kinds of characters.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who anyway, it's a wonderful community. It's very busy, very active. The next thing is, I have a lot of episodes on my podcast where people can start to educate themselves. Like the first thing you need to do is educate yourself.
Yes.
Understand what these things can and cannot do. Understand that you can't, like, I get emails from people sometimes saying, hey, I just bought this, and this. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I've
why
seen
did
that.
you buy them? Like, I don't understand. Like, how did you just go out and buy the, and to your point, like people get super excited, right?
Yeah.
If you want, find a functional provider. Like I think I'm sure A4M has a directory of some kind at this point, or find a coach. Or the other thing I have is I do have a private membership community that is much smaller and more intimate. And, we're able to have different types of discussions in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of people in there. So you gotta educate yourself. You gotta know why you think you need to use peptides, because here's the news. Not everybody needs to use peptides all the time. The bioregulators are a little bit different because we're more into the space of organ regeneration.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could argue that as the tread wears out on your tire, there's a benefit to restoring it if you have a way to do that that's not invasive. And the bioregulators along, coupled with a few other things can be really helpful in that. But always understand, like, do your due diligence, find people to follow or people to get information from who you can trust. And that's becoming increasingly difficult in this space because some of the loudest voices are not always the best to be following,
No.
unfortunately. We have podcasts now, there's books, there's A4M, and then of course there's then people like me who have these communities where you can really kind of start to get in there. Even the Facebook group, as much as sometimes it kind of gives me the shivers, I do think like there's amazing people in there who are really they're knowledgeable, they've had experience. But even if you just sat and read the feed,
yes,
you would learn, right? You would hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because here's the thing. Peptides are very powerful, and like anything else, if they're not used properly, sometimes you can end up with not a great outcome. Like not that we've seen horrible things necessarily, but the more imbalanced a person's body is, the more chance there is that they may have like a negative response to something because they're not using the right peptide. For example, thymosin alpha-1, I'll just give you one quick example. Very good at bringing the innate immune system back up again in someone where it's depressed. So they're Th2 dominant and their Th1 is down here. So it can be really effective. Yep. But here's the thing. You get some people that are actually Th1 dominant and their Th2 is down here. And when they take that thymosin alpha-1, it sends them into a complete tailspin because it's not what they need. So you need to understand where you're at, what your situation is, what you're trying to accomplish, and then you need to figure out what is it that is going to help you to do that.
It's like with so much out there, you need to know thyself, you need an intention of what you want, an outcome, and you need awareness. And sometimes that requires help from an expert such as yourself and others. And then you got to lean on that intuition, what is best for me, right? And really tap in and take that time, because no one's going to do that for you. And that's where I think a lot of people get mixed up, because there are so many loud voices in this, arena that you just try and follow one, it's maybe not what's best for you. It's what that
Yeah.
person believes is best, and that's not always the case for yourself. So
Yeah, I would say anybody who tells you, this is going to add 20 years to your life, go run the other way. Just run away.
Yeah, no, I mean, the claims
writing,
are out there, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen it in writing. So just
the bolder you are, the more attention you get, but the more off the truth I believe that is, right? So
yeah.